Hola a todos, ¿qué tal? Soy Erika, bienvenidos a mi canal. So in today's video is going to be part 2 of my simple past or preterite series. So in part 1, it was basically an introduction of how to conjugate in the preterite in Spanish. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put the link right up here for you. But in today's video, I'll be talking about car, gar, zar verbs and how to conjugate them. These are verbs that end in car, gar, or zar. And there's something that we need to consider when conjugating these in the past tense, which I'll get into in just a moment. But part 3 is going to be how to conjugate irregular and stem-changing verbs in the preterite. So if you don't want to miss that, please subscribe. And with that, let's get started with the video today. So empezamos con un repaso de los verbos, cómo se conjugan los verbos en el pretérito. Y después tenemos cómo se conjuga, verbos cargar y zar, y para terminar un poco de práctica como normal. Y bueno, empezamos con el repaso. So here I have review of how to conjugate in the preterite for AR conjugations. Only reviewing these ones today because as you can see, car, gar, and zar all end in AR. So the preterite, again, it's the simple past, is how to express like an action done in the past that happened and was also finished in that same moment. Like, I talked to my friend, I ate my sandwich, all right? So we have yo, the ending would be e, tú, haste, él, ella, usted is o, nosotros hamos, vosotros hasteis, and ellas, ustedes haron, okay? So these are the endings. When you plug these into the verb, it makes it into past tense. So here we have the verb hablar, which is to talk. I have yo hablé, which would be I talked. Tú hablaste, you talked. Él, ella, usted habló. Nosotros hablamos. Vosotros hablasteis. Y ellos, ustedes hablaron. Okay, so these are my endings here. These are the only ones we're going to be talking about today. All right, now to get into what are car, gar, zar verbs. So car, gar, zar verbs are verbs that end in gar, car, zar. Okay? So basically, in Spanish, there's something that we have to consider pronunciation. I'll show you in here in just a sec. So the verbs I'm going to be using today are jugar, which is to play, empezar, to start, llegar, to arrive, masticar, to chew, comenzar, to begin, and buscar is to search. Okay? All of these end in either car, gar, or zar. So let me show you what I meant by pronunciation. So we know that the ending for yo in the preterite is an e, right? It's an e with an accent. Okay? So let's assume we're conjugating. My goodness. We're conjugating. So we have jugar, right? So if I plug it in correctly, it would be like this, right? Yo jugué. You think it would be jugué, right? But G and E together in Spanish makes a he sound. So actually this reads yo jugué. And yo jugué is not a word. All right? Here too. I plug in the E, right? Because that's my ending. It would be yo yejé. Yo yejé, not a word. It means nothing in Spanish. All right? And then let's look here. We have the verb buscar, right? Busca, ka with a hard C. But C and E in Spanish makes an S sound. So this reads yo busé. And that also doesn't mean anything in Spanish. So what I'm going to teach you today is how we can preserve like the hard g and the hard k sound. Okay? So that's the lesson today is you basically need to add an extra letter for car, gar, and zar verbs to conjugate them correctly in the preterite, and that is to preserve like the sound of the letters. Okay? Spanish is very practical, unlike English. They don't change the rules of pronunciation. As you read it is how you see it. Okay? So let's get into how to conjugate in Spanish. Okay, so let's start with car verbs. So again, remember, we're talking like the whole reason why you have to change a letter is to preserve like the sound of the verb. Okay? So when conjugating in the yo, change the C for a QU, but only for the yo, okay? So remember the yo, the ending is an E with an accent, right? like to make it into the past tense. So it's the only one that's going to cause a little issue in the way it's read and pronounced, okay? So again, for car verbs, you're going to change the C to a QU. The C will stay the same for all the other pronouns, all right? Okay, let's take a look here. So we have the verb buscar, which is to search. So if you leave it as a C, it reads yo busqué, right? So to change it, to keep the k sound, right, buscar, we need to change it to a QUE, and that's going to give us that yo busqué, the k sound, all right? So it's only for the yo. So you change the C for a QU. So here we will have yo busqué, tú buscaste. It doesn't change here because C and A together it still has that k sound, right? The only reason you're changing it is to preserve the pronunciation. Okay, we have él, usted buscó, nosotros buscamos, vosotros buscasteis, ellos, ustedes buscaron. All right? So again, for car verbs, for the yo only, today it's only going to be the yo that's changing. You change the C to a QU. Okay? Let's take a look with masticar, which means to chew. So again, for only the yo, you're going to change the C to a QU. So here I have my complete conjugation. I have yo mastiqué, I chewed. Tú masticaste, you chewed. See, this ones, they all have the C. It's just this one here, the yo, that's changing. Él, usted masticó, nosotros masticamos, vosotros masticasteis, ellos masticaron. All right? And this is the past tense in the preterite. All right? So again, the C goes to QU for the yo. Okay? Remember yo in today's video. All right, let's go to Zar. So for Zar, I don't know why it changes. This one, it doesn't fit in the others in terms of like the pronunciation isn't really an issue when we're conjugating it, but you still have to change a letter for the yo. So that's why my teacher always used to tell me, remember, yo carga Zar. Remember that in your head, yo cargar Zar. Those are the only verbs like end in that for the yo are the ones that are going to change. All right, so for Zar ending verbs like empezar, which is to start, you need to change the Z to a C. So instead of having yo empecé with a Z sound, you plug in the C and it makes yo empecé. And this is correct. Yo empecé. Okay? So again, remember the letter will only change for the yo form. It stays exactly the same for all the other pronouns. So here we have yo empecé with a C, but for tú, we need to keep it as a Z, the original. Because if I add in the C, it would make the sound empecaste, and that does not match what our verb is, okay? So it's only changing for the yo. So yo empecé, tú empezaste, él empezó, nosotros empezamos, vosotros empezasteis, and ellos, ustedes empezaron, all right? You might also notice that in the present tense, this is a stem changer, right? It would be empiezo, but in the preterite, the verbs these don't change, okay? This one, jugar, they don't change. They stay exactly like EMP, EZ. They stay the same, okay? But anyway, today we're talking about the Zar endings. So let's move on to comenzar. So it's going to be the same thing. In the yo only, you change the Z to a C. So yo comencé, tú comenzaste, él comenzó, nosotros comenzamos, vosotros comenzasteis, ellos, ustedes comenzaron. All right? So for Zar endings, the yo, Z to a C. Now let's go to Gar verbs, okay? And these ones, remember, we run into that pronunciation issue. So we have the verb jugar, which is to play. Again, in the present tense, this is a stem changer. In the preterite, you leave it as it is. It's just a normal, regular verb. Okay, so the yo for these ones will go to a GU. So that's going to give us yo jugué, right? If we leave it like with this just the G, it's going to be yo jugué. But we want to preserve the hard G sound, so it's yo jugué. All right, so we have yo jugué. See, we changed it. Tú jugaste. él, usted jugó, nosotros jugamos, vosotros jugasteis, ellos jugaron. You see, by changing these letters, it keeps like the hard G sound throughout the conjugations. That's the reason for this, okay? So again, the G goes to a GU only for the yo form to preserve the pronunciation. Okay, let's go to llegar. That means to arrive. So again, yo, G to GU. Yo llegué, tú llegaste, él, usted llegó, nosotros llegamos, vosotros llegasteis, ellos, ustedes llegaron. All right? So again, G to GU. And that's basically the rules. So let's go on to some practice. Okay, so remember, yo, Gar, Zar. That's like the catchphrase you need to remember for today's lesson. All right, entonces, conjuga los siguientes verbos al pretérito. So what I want you to do is to conjugate all these verbs right here. I have empacar, pagar, and almorzar. I want you to conjugate these, and don't just do the yo. You need to do all of them, and the reason for that is because I want you to practice when you change a letter and when you don't change a letter, okay? Here, I also have what you change the letters to so that you can, for your reference. So yes, take a piece of paper, complete this conjugation chart, and then once you're done, we'll go on to las respuestas, okay? All right, entonces, I hope you paused the video. Now let's go on to las respuestas. So, first we have pagar, to pay. So remember the G goes to a GU, only for the yo. Yo pagué, tú pagaste, él pagó, nosotros pagamos, vosotros pagasteis, ellos pagaron. All right? Also, something I just want to mention, make sure you are putting in the accents on the end of your conjugations, because remember in Spanish we don't normally write or speak with the pronouns. So if you miss the accent on this one, for example, and you just said pago, like that means I pay. But pago means like he paid, right? See, it changed. So yeah, just don't be lazy with the accents. All right, we have embarcar, so sí goes to QU. Yo embarqué, tú embarcaste, él embarcó, nosotros embarcamos, vosotros embarcasteis, ellos embarcaron. Bueno, ahora a almorzar. Also in the present tense, this one is a stem changer, but in the past tense, it's just regular. So almorzar is to eat lunch. Yo almorcé, C to Z for the yo. Tú almorzaste, él almorzó, nosotros almorzamos, vosotros almorzasteis, y ellos, ustedes almorzaron. Oh my goodness, that was a mouthful. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, next video I make is going to be about the preterite with stem changers and irregular verbs. So if you want to watch that and you like my video, please subscribe. Y nos vemos en el próximo. Adiós todos.